Good evening. I hereby call to order the September 11th, 2017 council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. DeJohn?
Here.
Mrs. Spinney?
Here.
Mr. Mano?
Here.
Mr. Mercurio?
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Here.
Mrs. Snyder?
Here.
Mrs. Tressi?
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. This evening, we have a special presentation, which we will conduct now before we begin in our business for the evening. Mr. Murphy, we'll have Resolution 2017-55. Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Spinney, seconded by Mrs. Snyder. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Spinney?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Spinney?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Mayor, will you please read the resolution?
Thank you. This is resolution commending Paul H. Getz upon his retirement from the Service Department of the City of Mayfield Heights. Paul, if you'd like to come up. And I have to stay here. You get to stay there because I have to use the microphone, so bear with us for a minute. Whereas Paul H. Getz has served with distinction with the City of Mayfield Heights for a period of 28 years with the highest degree of devotion, humility, loyalty, and perseverance. And whereas Paul began his employment in May 1989 as a part-time sidewalk inspector and became a full-time employee on March 22, 1993, when he was assigned to the community building as a custodian. And whereas he was also an auxiliary police officer in the 1970s and again in 1989 until 2001. And whereas Paul was transferred to the police department in 1995 to handle custodial and maintenance duties, where he remained until his transfer to the City Hall complex in May 2013. And whereas other duties, including serving as a handyman for many projects around the city, including setting up electrical wiring in the park for community days every year, hanging pictures, repairing furniture and miscellaneous items, fixing plumbing issues, and being the point person for the elevators and HVAC system in the police department and City Hall complex. And whereas Paul's loyalty, efforts, and responsibility have given our city the finest in public works services, for which we are grateful and proud. And whereas Paul has chosen to retire as of June 30th, 2017, taking with him our heartfelt thanks for a job well done. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mayfield Heights, State of Ohio, that the administration, the City Council, and the residents of Mayfield Heights extend their congratulations to Paul H. Getz on his retirement from the Mayfield Heights Service Department, and wish to express their deepest appreciation to Paul for his years of devoted service and sincerely wish him a happy and successful future. Passed September 11, 2017, attested by Robert Tribby, Clerk, Gail M. Teresi, Council President, and myself, Mayor. Congratulations, Paul.
just want to thank everybody that, I really enjoyed working here a lot. So, especially the maintenance part of it. And, working with, all the contractors that came in and stuff like that, and all the finance department and everybody else. So that's who I miss mostly is the people. But I'm enjoying myself. I'm working more at home now than but that's about it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'll miss you, Paul. You always had a smile on your face. Okay, we'll begin our business meeting, and we will move to acceptance of our minutes of our last meeting, which was our special council meeting of August 21st, 2017. I hope everyone's had an opportunity to look over their minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mr. Mercurio. Are there any suggested changes, amendments, or deletions to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of our special council meeting of August 21st, 2017 have been approved. We'll next move on to correspondence and announcements. Is there any member of council who has correspondence or announcements to share? Mrs. Sabetta?
Thank you, Madam President. I did receive correspondence from the Chagrin River Watershed Partners. The correspondence stated the 2016 annual report, and they have worked together with us, and they were here to serve the city of Mayfield Heights, and some of the services include site visits, plan reviews and technical recommendations, code review and model code, adoption assistant, grant application assistant, training, resident and professional education. And they thanked us for being part of their partnership, and they look forward to working with us in 2018. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabetta. Any other comments or correspondence to share? I just would like to say that our heartfelt thoughts and prayers go out to the people in Florida and Houston for all that they've gone through. We really are quite fortunate living in Cleveland. We don't have the disasters that these other states have had, so we're very fortunate, but our prayers should go out to all of those that are going to be in need. We'll now move on to reports of our officers, and we'll begin with our mayor, Mayor DeSico.
Thank you and good evening. Tonight, Monday, September 11th, begins the 4th Annual Citizens Police Academy. We have 18 residents enrolled this year, making it the largest of the 4 classes. The course will run for 9 weeks on Monday evenings from 6 to 9. The alumni of this program continue to help volunteer at city events with the police department and are truly great advocates for our police department and city. I recently attended an informational session along with area mayors and police chiefs on the growing opioid epidemic and the Safe Passages program, and I have directed Chief Bittner to begin implementing this very important program. The opioid crisis is a national epidemic, and this program finally seems to provide local government with a tool to try and assist with this deadly trend in our community. In 2016, just in Cuyahoga County, there were 591 opiate-related deaths. In 2015, Ohio ranked number 1 in the country for heroin-related overdose deaths. I see the devastating effects of this epidemic at my family's funeral home, where we are seeing parents having to make funeral plans for their children on a regular basis. And as mayor, I am asked regularly, what can I do to help with this epidemic in our community? And I feel that this program is a great way to try and get the city involved in trying to help these addicted persons recover. This is a new program recently implemented in only a few cities in Cuyahoga County, which is aimed at getting people suffering from addiction to the help they need, instead of putting them in handcuffs. Safe Passages is changing the way of handling addicts who request help with their addiction to opiates, such as heroin and fentanyl. How it works is any resident who enters the police station and voluntarily asks for help with their addiction to opiates will be placed into appropriate treatment. The Safe Passages initiative was created to help heroin and opiate addicts get into recovery. If you need help or know someone who needs help getting into recovery from addiction, you just need to come into one of the participating Hillcrest area police stations and ask for it. We're here to help you with your steps towards recovery. They will be paired with a volunteer that will help guide them through the process. As we develop this program, we will partner with treatment centers to ensure that patients receive the care and treatment they deserve. We facilitate entry to treatment and act as part of a necessary support system. Those needing help will not be arrested. They will not be charged with a crime. They will not be jailed. They will be directed to treatment. All they have to do is come to the police station and ask for help. We are here to do just that. The program does not get them out of criminal matters that they already have, such as arrest warrants or other pending cases. But if they come in, they will not be charged for turning in any drugs to the police. Our program will be modeled similar to the Berea North Olmsted Safe Passages program. We are working with neighboring Hillcrest area agencies to kick this program off together in order to help cover a wider area. Details will come out in the near future as this program is developed and implemented. On September 7th, I had the pleasure of swearing in two new police officers, Broderick Fratantonio and Philip Goikenberg. And a couple reminders brought to you by Parks and Recreation Senior Subcommittee. This Saturday, September 16th, we have our senior social, 6:30 to 9 in the community center, and October 7th is our murder mystery dinner at 6 to 9 at the community center, and we do have some information going around. There's some on the website. It should be a good time for everyone. It's $25 per person. You get the mystery dinner theater experience, and you may have one of the actors sitting at your table and you don't know it, so it's kind of a cool experience. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor? Thank you. We'll move on next to our report, a report from our Director of Law, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Murphy? We'll move on to a report from our Director of Finance, Mr. Tribby.
No formal report, but we do have two items on the agenda that are very important to be considered by you.
Must have to do with money.
Resolution. Oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Tribby. Are there any questions for Mr. Tribby? Next, we will move on to our reports of committees, commissions, and boards, and we'll begin with the Building Committee, Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. We'll move on to our Finance and Audit Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Mrs. President. No, I have no report.
Thank you. We'll move on to our Legislative Committee, Mrs. Snyder.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report.
Okay. We'll move on to Public Works and Services Committee, Mr. Mercurio.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll go ahead and break that streak.
All
And,
right.
I do have a report tonight. Public Works and Services Committee, we did meet on August 10th to discuss the proposed improvements to Oakville Park. As you know, we received approximately $200,000 in grants for the project. And improvements to the park would include a new pavilion, new sidewalks, a new parking area, an ADA concrete trail, and ADA access improvements to the playground, new landscaping, excavation, drainage improvements, soiling, and seeding of the field. We did go out to bid on this project, and once we get the bid packets back, I'll go ahead and schedule another meeting so we can review those bids. I have a road program update as well. Work on Mayflower and Oakville are now complete, and work in the corporate park is moving along fairly well, and portions of Parkland Boulevard are being worked on as well. Work on Woodrow is underway, and base repairs there are almost complete. Our crack sealing program is about 70% complete this year, And if anyone's driven on 91, you'll know that work resumed last night and will be performed in both the day and at night, and work by the school will be done on Saturdays to make sure that we do not interfere with the school traffic during school hours. We are part of the Keep America Beautiful initiative, and we had national trainers in from Chicago to review their policies and procedures, and that training was very well attended. I have an update from the road crew as well. They had completed repairs on the southern part of Elmwood, and catch basins were cleaned up in the Golden Gate area. Trees were trimmed and mulch was installed on the Gates Mills Boulevard Island. And finally, work on pool closing, including painting and removing pumps, is currently being worked on and should be completed soon. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mercurio. I have a quick question. You said the Keep America Beautiful was greatly attended?
According to Mr. Fernaro.
By whom?
Who attended that, Joe? Members of the committee, I assume?
Wait, can you please step to the podium?
City Hall staff, Parks and Rec, a few residents, and members of the search team.
That's who attended. Was it like a daytime?
It was, I sent emails to council when it was happening.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fernaro. Are there any questions for Mr. Mercurio? We'll move on to Recreation and Parks Committee, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Fall programming has started and includes the following programs that are underway. Flag football, ages 5 to 8, men's and co-ed bocce leagues, co-ed softball leagues. Registration for a very popular program, the LBJ basketball, started today for residents. LBJ is a recreational basketball league for those in grades K-3. If interested, don't wait, as this program sells out quickly. The Silver Social Dance. Join us this Saturday, September 16th from 6:30 to 9 p.m. at the Ross DeJohn Community Center for the next dance. All are welcome. It's $5 per person, including pizza, chips, cookies, pop, water, and coffee. Bus trips. I'm not even going to attempt to read this. It's German for beer, I guess. Ach ein Bier bitte. Anyway, Thursday, October 19th, join us as we head downtown to tour our local brewery. A late lunch that will go splendidly with all those great beers. The tour of Great Lakes Brewery will start the day and will finish off at the Hofbrauhaus. All participants must be 21 years and older. All participants will get lunch on their own. It's a maximum of 24 people. It's a cost of $30 apiece. Our September lunch bunch will be going to Harry Buffalo in Highland Heights on September 27th at 11:30. If you're interested, a reservation must be made. And the mayor already covered the murder mystery on Saturday, October the 7th. Sounds like it could be a fun evening. Any other information that you might want on recreational programs, please call the office at 442-2627. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Mano? Thank you. We'll move on to our Safety and Transportation Committee, Mrs. Finney.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We do have a motion on the agenda tonight to advertise for bids for an air compressor, tank, and fill station for the fire department. And I'd like to ask Chief Elliott to come up and give us a brief report, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Finney. Good evening, members of council. Just have a few announcements I wanted to make. Just wanted to remind everybody, just in light of the disasters that happened in Florida and Houston recently, that September is National Preparedness Month. Every year we try to acknowledge that. We try to get information out to the public. Just wanted to remind our residents that if they go to ready.gov, there's many resources on that website that they can help plan for emergencies, there's checklists, there's all kinds of information to help plan for any kind of national disasters. And also, one of the important things of this type of magnitude is notification of things. If you go to the mayfieldheights.org website, and if you click the Civic Ready tab, you could sign up for these important notifications. You know, the mayor's office sends out things, I send out things from weather alerts to road closures. So communications is very important when we're talking about being prepared for emergencies. So I just wanted to pass that along. I also wanted to let everybody know and our residents know that we have begun our hydrant testing program, our maintenance program. We do that not just to dirty up your water, but it is a very important program for us to know that the hydrants are in operational order. That, you know, it's just also important just to work the components within the hydrant. If you never work them, the time you go to use it, things break. And then we could also report any kind of findings to the water department in Cleveland to get things fixed. You may have noticed over the last few years, we've had 20 plus, if not more, hydrants replaced in Mayfield Heights alone from us going out and finding problems before they occur during an emergency. So you will see signs at the end of the streets, hydrant testing in this area. Within the next couple of days, we will be out to do that. The only thing I would suggest to the residents is if you do see those signs at the end of your street, run your cold water for a little bit. If it comes out clear, you're okay. If it comes out a little cloudy, keep that cold water running until everything comes out clean. There's no need for boil alerts and no other concerns. It just stirs up the sediment in the hydrants a little bit, or in the water lines, I should say. So just run that cold water until it comes clean, and you should be okay with that. And lastly, I wanted to thank the mayor and city administration and mostly the residents of Mayfield Heights for their generosity during our annual Fill the Boot campaign. Nationally, every year around Labor Day, firefighters from around the nation participate in this Fill the Boot campaign. It's been going on for over 60 years. The residents here in Mayfield Heights have been outstanding with their donations. This year, we've raised just over $21,000. That's going to be for muscular dystrophy, also known as Jerry's Kids. So the firefighters worked hard that weekend, and the residents responded well with donations, and we appreciate city administration and their support in the program. And that is all I have. There is a couple things on the agenda. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those at that time.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions for Mrs. Finney for her report? We'll move on to our Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Mercurio.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, right here in council chambers.
Thank you. We'll move on to our Planning Commission. Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. We did have a planning meeting on August 28th to discuss the True North addition at the True North Station at 6411 Mayfield Road. I was absent from that meeting, so we'll have Mayor DeSico to give us some information on that meeting. Thank you.
Mayor, your turn.
Thank you. The minutes, I hope everyone got the minutes from the meeting. There was just, it was unanimous approval by Architectural Board of Review already. There was a couple contingencies to place some bollards to help protect a air conditioning unit, and just to make sure the fire department can get around back. That was one thing they had to look at before with the final approval. But that was contingent upon those two things, but planning approved it unanimously.
And did I see that they put a cooler in the back of that as well?
That's one of the additions, yeah. That is the addition, pretty much, yeah.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the mayor on?
And the applicant is here. If we, when that comes up, if we have questions, we can call you up.
But thank you. Okay. We'll now move on to our public portion. Pursuant to section 121.02, subsection H8 of the codified ordinances, each person will be allowed 5 minutes to speak with a maximum of 30 minutes for the entire public portion. Although this is not a time for public debate, it is your opportunity to address council with your concerns. Please note that there will be no personal attacks or comments allowed. If you are here in connection with an agenda item, this is your opportunity to address council. If you would like to be heard this evening, please raise your hand and be recognized. Approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. It is now 7:25, and sir, if you'd like to come forward. We'll open the public portion.
Good evening. My name is Rick Turner. I'm with Diamond Z Engineering. We represent True North Energy on their permitting and development items that they're doing in various communities. And this one that we've got on the agenda today is obviously within Mayfield Heights. We're looking to remodel the inside of the store, and as a part of that remodeling, we're going to add on to the cooler. So the cooler sticks out the back side of the building, approximately 10 feet out from the building and 22 feet wide. And that's necessary to, I'll admit it, we're putting in a beer cave. Sometimes people on committees are happy about that, and sometimes they say, well, I don't know, but it is a part of the investing in the store and making it a better place for our customers. So we're not talking about any signage at this meeting. We're not talking about any changes with the outside, except like the mayor mentioned, we are going to put a couple of bollards in to protect an HVAC unit. Another thing we agreed to was to paint the back of the building and the units on the back of the building so it's all a uniform color. And that's all I have. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to ask any questions if you haven't.
Are there any questions for Mr. Turner? No?
Okay.
Thank you so
very
much. Yes, sir. If you would please come forward, Tony, and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tony Ramos, and my business address is 31360 Solon Road, Suite 33, and that's Solon, Ohio 44139, I think. Mr. Mayor, Madam President, members of council, it's nice to see you again. I'll only take a few minutes of your time. In 2016, NOPEC had a executive assistant recognition program in which we visited the communities we serve to recognize the efforts of executive assistants to our mayors. In 2017, as a former clerk of council, I wanted to expand that program to recognize the efforts of council clerks in communities we serve. So I am here this evening to present your clerk of council, Lisa, with a certificate of recognition and a gift, well, a bag full of gifts. But the mayor wanted you to be recognized, and he included a quote on the certificate. And it says, "The coordination and scheduling of meetings, along with the distribution of materials for the meetings, is a thankless and tedious job." So thank you, Lisa. We do appreciate your efforts. So I have this certificate for you. This bag is a cooler, and it's full of stuff for you. And if I can get your picture with the mayor and the council president, I'll get out of your hair.
Our clerk of council is exceptional. We can all say that. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard this evening? It is 7:30, and we will now close our public portion. We will now move on to resolutions, and we'll begin with Resolution 2017-56. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution number 2017-56, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mrs. Finney. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn? Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mercurio, seconded by Mrs. Snyder. So we've all received the memo from Mr. Tribby with explanation on the breakdown of levying of property taxes that is required by the statute. Mr. Tribby has given us 5 years of a breakdown for our review. Would you like to add anything, Mr. Tribby?
The breakdown has changed over the years, but the 10 mills has been in place since our charter was adopted in 1951, a long time ago.
A long time ago.
So our rate is
Still
not
10
going up.
mills, that's pretty good. Okay. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Tribby? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Resolution 2017-56 has been approved. We'll move on to Resolution 2017-57. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution number 2017-57, a resolution requesting the county fiscal officer to advance real property taxes from the proceeds of tax levies pursuant to section 321.34 Ohio Revised Code. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Finney, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Oh, I'm sorry. Still looking at my bag.
Well, my answer is yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mercurio, seconded by Mr. Mano. Again, this resolution is, if approved, would be certified and forwarded to the county so the city can receive the proceeds from our tax levies. Mr. Tribby, would you like to add anything at all?
Yeah, this allows us to participate in the advance program as the taxes are collected during the first and second half. If we didn't pass this, we'd have to wait till a settlement, which sometimes comes 3 months after the collection. This way we'll get it 1 or 2 months early. Of course, that helps the cash flow.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Definitely. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes, Resolution 2017-57 has been approved. Actually, Mr. Tribby and the mayor both sound like they're congested here. Is it going around City Hall?
I don't know. I just sort of developed this today.
Oh my gosh, you poor thing.
I have to confess, I was yelling at the Steelers yesterday.
Oh,
That's
all
what-
right. Well, then we're not going to feel sorry for you. We'll move on to Resolution 2017-58. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution number 2017-58, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with DataServe Integrations, LLC, for computer and other information technology-related services and declaring an emergency. First reading.
I would like to table this. Can I table it now, or do we need to suspend?
You can table it anytime you want.
I'd like to make a motion to table this resolution so that we can ask for a committee of the whole to discuss this contract, since we just received it on Friday.
I'll second the motion.
can we get a roll call on a motion to table?
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Nope.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
No.
Mrs. Finney?
No.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes,
4-3.
4-3. So it has been defeated, it's been tabled.
We're done.
Okay. Lisa, if you would be kind enough to organize a committee of the whole, that would be great.
Madam President,
Mayor?
can this be placed on the committee of the whole agenda that we have coming up next? The 2 weeks? Or do we not have enough time? We're starting at 6, that committee of the
Correct.
whole. Okay. We'll have to try to work it out as soon as possible. The contract is up, so.
If we can, start at 6 and get both of them in, that would be great.
When is that meeting? We don't know anything about it.
Mayor, when is that meeting?
You scheduled that, right, the committee of the whole for?
I haven't sent out notice
Oh.
yet, but it is set
We're
up
all
for
like,
September
okay, so
25th.
So no wonder we're
sorry.
all like looking at each other here.
Before the next council meeting, September 25th.
Hopefully, if everybody's, that's for Macaulay. Yeah, Justin Macaulay, yeah.
That's, he's coming to council September 25th.
That's the next meeting.
Right,
Committee of the whole, that's what we talked about.
before our
So you
council
knew,
meeting.
so you
Yes.
knew about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
We're gonna have enough time, if you're gonna discuss the Macaulay thing, this is gonna be before the council meeting? And then we have to, there's a lot in here that has to be discussed.
Well, we do have the representatives from DataServe here tonight, so it's too bad we couldn't talk about it, then table it to discuss at a committee of the whole, because they're here to answer all your questions.
It's too bad we didn't get this information
Yeah, a little
sooner than Friday. We should've got this a couple weeks ago. We've been in recess. We should've got this stuff so we could've had a chance to digest it. But there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, so.
Which could be answered tonight.
No, you don't wanna do that right here. If we're gonna do this, we should have a separate committee of the whole meeting.
Madam President?
Mr. DeJohn.
So my question is can't we go, month to month with this contract?
We are right now.
Oh, and how long's that been, month to month?
Since it ran out, July was the end of the contract.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to move on to Resolution 2017-59, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution 2017-59, a resolution adopting the updated 2017-2022 All Hazards Mitigation Plan for Cuyahoga County and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Finney. Seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mrs. Snyder. By passage of this resolution, excuse me, the City of Mayfield Heights would be approving and then adopting the updated 2017 to 2022 All Hazards Mitigation Plan for Cuyahoga County. Chief Elliott has been a member of the 2017 All Hazards Mitigation Committee, Planning Committee, along with so many other stakeholders, like the Cleveland Clinic, the National Weather Service, RTA, and Cuyahoga County's Emergency Management. Chief, would you like to say anything about this evening?
Really, this is a piece of housekeeping that's required. FEMA requires that this plan be reviewed every 5 years. We use Cuyahoga County as our emergency management agency. We're required to have a dedicated EMA. So we use Cuyahoga County to utilize that service for us in case we did have a major disaster here in Mayfield Heights. We have resources available for getting funding from FEMA and some of those things to help rebuild and repair infrastructures and those kind of things. So this is basically a piece of housekeeping that we have to adopt after the plan's been updated, and I'll be back here in 2022 again. So any questions?
We hope we see you before then.
Yes.
Are there any questions for our chief?
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Resolution 2017-59 has been approved. We'll move on now to our ordinances, and we'll begin with ordinance 2017-18. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ordinance number 2017-18, an ordinance enacting Chapter 175 of the Codified Ordinances of the City titled Keep Mayfield Heights Beautiful Commission. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Snyder, moved by Mrs. Finney, and seconded by Mrs. Snyder, excuse me. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mrs. Snyder. This ordinance is requesting council's approval for establishing the Keep Mayfield Heights Beautiful Commission, since it has not, I don't have any information about the ordinance, so maybe the mayor or Mr. Finaro can come forward and tell us more about this commission that we're establishing.
Joe, since you are the commission president, why don't you come forward?
Why don't you tell us all about this?
About Keep America Beautiful? It is
Well, I went online and I looked about Keep America Beautiful, but when did we establish it in the city?
We're doing it right now. So as soon as you pass, if you pass the ordinance, that gets it rolling.
And we already have a commission?
We do not.
So by passing it, we would then start a new commission? Okay? And
You know
when,
all about it. It's litter prevention and beautification. So Mayfield Heights, we went around, we did a litter index of where we need improvements in the city. The whole city, including apartments, condos, residential, commercial.
I have some questions.
Mr. Mano?
In reading this, first of all, there really isn't a whole lot of information in here about how this thing's gonna get implemented, how much teeth it's gonna have, and so on and so forth. I would submit to you, you wanna make Mayfield Heights beautiful, you can start by getting out there and enforcing code, getting rid of the dead trees, the dead shrubbery, fixing the bad sidewalks. As far as litter is concerned, we can't get people to bring their garbage cans in after pickup day. What is it that we're going to be able to do to compel people not to litter, that we need a full commission to do this? I mean, it seems like we're adding a layer of bureaucracy that we really don't need at this point.
Just in the short time that we're not even involved yet, we have got relief from Keep Ohio Beautiful, which gave us a whole bunch of garbage bags, pickers to pick up litter, gloves.
Where? I haven't seen any of that. I haven't seen any of that in the city.
We're waiting to get it implemented to start using it, but it's sitting in the garage if you'd like to see it. And not so much of enforcing, but helping to clean up. Volunteers to clean up the litter we have. I understand your concerns, but fixing sidewalks and that stuff is all stuff we do on a daily basis.
I would really like to table this for further discussion, because there's just things in here that, I don't know, it seems that there's a duplication of services, and I wanna know how this commission is gonna make recommendations that have any teeth in them to be enforceable. You know, we've gone through the corridor plan and the new landscaping plan, and we still have people building things that, when we complain about the lack of landscaping or what have you, we're told, well, we can't do that with that because they're grandfathered or this or that. There's too many areas that are too vague and really need to have some kind of a concrete plan in charge. And this does not explain a concrete plan, how it's gonna happen, how it's gonna be done. So at that point, I'd just like to see this tabled for further discussion.
Are you making a motion, Mr.
I'm
Manna?
making a motion that we table this for further discussion.
We have a motion on the table to table ordinance 2017-18. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Mr. DeJohn. Roll call on the motion to table.
Mrs. Snyder?
No.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
No.
Mrs. Finney?
No.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes,
4 to 3 vote.
4 to 3. This ordinance has been tabled.
Madam President.
Mr. DeJohn?
So I'd like to, now that it's tabled, refer to the Public Works.
Right, correct, that's what I was,
Oh,
that was
okay.
gonna be my suggestion, is that
So we'll
when
get
we
all of our
discuss- when we-
questions and everything ironed out
When we
there.
right, when we schedule, the meeting for Oakville
Yeah.
Park, we can chat about this as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Lisa, will you coordinate that meeting with Public Works?
Yes.
Sorry, Lisa.
You make me work for my bag.
I'm so sorry. Okay. We will now move on to motions. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Motion to confirm the decision of the Planning Commission approving a preliminary final site plan for a 318 square foot vestibule cooler addition to the rear of the building, contingent upon the approval of the fire department and the installation of bollards to protect the rear HVAC unit at True North Shell, 6411 Mayfield Road.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mrs. Snyder. We received a copy of the case, PC 17-07 in our packages for review. This station is located at Golden Gate and Mayfield Road, and it is for a cooler box and vestibule on the rear of the building in their remodeling. Mr. DeJohn, would you like to add anything since it came from planning?
That would have to be Mayor DeSico.
Mayor, do you want to add anything?
No, nothing that I didn't mention before.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Mrs. Sabetta?
Thank you, Madam President. Did the fire department
Yes.
go?
They did approve it.
They did approve.
Okay.
Madam President?
Yes.
It was contingent upon that, so that's what planning's idea was, to eventually have fire go. So, and they did.
Correct. Thank you.
I just have one quick question, Mayor. This cooler is accessed only from the inside of the store? Okay, thank you. And then the other little addition is, allows you into and out of the building? I'm sorry. No, I just needed to know. I see the doorway here. I didn't see a door on the back of this. Okay, thanks. Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes, this motion has been carried. We'll move on to our next motion. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Motion to authorize the sale of a vehicle through Gov Deals. The specific vehicle is a 2015 Honda Accord LX. Vehicle ID number 1HGCM 56455A 189174.
Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Finney, seconded by Mr. DeJohn. As we have in the past, we have a vehicle to sell through Gov Deals. Mr. Tribby, would you like to add anything, since it's a relatively new car?
No, it's not real new, but 2005. We confiscated this in a drug conviction.
It says 2015. That's why I thought it was new.
Really? Yeah, I guess it does look new, doesn't it? That was a typo. It's 2005.
Okay.
When we took title in 2014, it had 130,000 miles on it. So I think it's probably another 10 on top of that. Obviously, we're not going to put any more money into it. And when we sell it, the proceeds go into the Law Enforcement Trust Fund.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes, this motion has been carried. We'll move on to our next motion. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Motion to authorize preparing specifications and advertising for bids to purchase an air compressor, tank, and fill station for the fire department.
Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mercurio, seconded by Mr. DeJohn. We've received the memo from Mr. Tribby regarding this. FEMA has awarded a grant in the amount of $48,000, and the city will have a 5% match, which equates to $2,525. Chief, would you like to add anything? I know you briefly talked about it earlier.
Yeah, what this compressor is, just make sure that everybody's clear. This is to fill our air bottles that when we go into a fire. So it's not to fill car tires and those kind of things. This is a sophisticated compressor that has CO monitoring on it, so we're getting good clean air that firefighters are breathing in. The current compressor that we have is not property of Mayfield Heights. It's actually property of the Hillcrest Technical Rescue Team, which is comprised of 9 communities. You may recall earlier this year, council approved legislation to purchase a new air trailer for this for our team. So we're getting away from this air compressor that we currently have upstairs that's 25 plus years old. It's getting very difficult to find parts for it. It's getting pretty costly to repair. And so the timing was right, and we were able to get that AFG grant to cover all but a couple $1,000. So we were very happy to get that grant, and this should last us for many, many years.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Are there any other comments or discussion? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes, this motion has been carried. We'll now move on to new business or comments from council. Is there any new business or comments to discuss? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta. Seconded by Mrs. Finney. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone. Our meeting is now adjourned.